What's up, everybody? Welcome to another NBA Rundown, courtesy of Run Pure Sports and Run Pure Bets. Today, I am joined by my podcast partner, Noops, host of the Net Worth Pod, host of Brown Bag Bets, host of Eat Sleep Tennis. Have I left anything out here?
We've got Ace NBA previews, but that's
Oh,
on
yeah.
hiatus. Our data guy decided to have a newborn baby and move all within a three week period. So letting him get himself settled. But it's been a very busy time with the NBA season, with tennis, all sorts of great stuff going on. So nice to be able to talk to you, Spread, here on yet another platform where we get to work together.
Yeah, isn't this fantastic? And, we're wiping the sleep out of our eyes as we're staying up late to watch this great tennis going on in Australia. But let's move our focus over to the NBA. Let's go ahead and check out this card. The first game we got on there is the Bulls and the Pacers. Pacers laying 5.5 here to the Bulls. The total is 225. We spoke before it started. Dropped 4.5 points. Now, I know you love your unders, but is that drop a little too much? What are you thinking about this game?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to reassess some things here. This is, it's we're gonna spend a lot of time talking about this. Obviously, it's betting the NBA. When I start to look at Chicago here, if Wendell Carter Jr. is out and he's confirmed to be out, I'm going to be looking to grab some overs here, and it might just be as simple as taking an Indiana team total over. There's no one left on the Bulls roster who is going to be able to do anything to stop what Indiana wants to do at the rim here. So as soon as Carter's announced out, I'll probably be looking at an Indiana team total over. If Carter's announced in, I actually might bet on the Bulls here. It's moved from 5.5 to 6, but if Carter's in, I think they have a chance to maybe slow them down a little bit. And Chicago's guards are dynamic enough, I think, to keep that close. What are you seeing?
Yeah, I agree with you, especially that Carter news will be big. I think it would be a nice time to jump on maybe some Sabonis props. I think Turner's going to eat in the middle as well. And, Chicago's been a team that struggled defensively all year. Indiana, they went through a little bad streak, but they seem to be getting things back together, coming off 2 wins in Detroit and in Atlanta, where they played really well. They're still definitely missing Levert and Warren. They'll be a really strong team once they get those two players back. But overall, I've liked Indiana a lot this year. I kind of fell off the wagon for a little bit, but they seem to be getting things back together. I'm kind of the opposite with you. If Carter's out, I want to jump on this Indiana line. And I don't really have a good feel for the total here. So this should be
Yeah, if Carter's out, I think you're right. If Carter's out, we attack Indiana. I'll just
yeah.
take a team total over there, as opposed to the spread.
Yeah, and I don't mind that at all. At 225, you'll be getting as that the total overall goes down. That's giving you more value on the team total, which I think is a great way to attack it. Let's see. The next one we have up here is the Wizards and the Rockets as John Wall returns to Washington for the first time. Now the Wizards team are coming. They're coming off that big upset yesterday over Boston, right? I don't think we're gonna get Westbrook tonight. Did you see any news about Russell Westbrook?
Actually, I was just looking. Fantasy Labs just put out that he is available to play tonight.
Okay, and this will be his first back-to-back this season. Do you think that will matter at all, or do you think he's just good to go?
He's generally okay. I mean, if he's playing, he generally seems to be pretty good, and all systems go. So I think he will play tonight, and I would be handicapping this game like he's pretty much his old self.
Okay,
Well, his
and
self this year, not his old self.
I mean, it's so fun capping these games. It's all just trying to dig through all this injury news. So, and I don't think we're going to get Oladipo, right?
No Oladipo, no Christian Wood. Again, for Washington, it looks like they have just about a full lineup. Obviously, Bryant's out for the year. I think I like Washington in this spot. I mean, it feels weird. I don't like saying that. I haven't bet Washington here, but now that I know that Westbrook's in, they've got Beal. Beal's going to be probably the best player on the floor. Even if John Wall goes off, I mean, Westbrook's going to be possibly the second best player on the floor. I'm a little confused that this line hasn't moved. And Washington isn't a favorite here. This is just an odd line to me. But I might find myself with a Washington ticket at some point.
Do you think the back-to-back is changing that line at all? I mean, do you think that's why, Washington's a slight underdog from what I see?
Yeah, I think that's obviously impacting it here. It's a back-to-back. It looks like it's their third game in 4 nights. Houston's had two nights off, but I think that a lot of that rest stuff is built into the number, like you said, and maybe that's what's driving it. But I don't know. I don't know if I'm particularly that worried. Again, especially if you have Westbrook coming back, who hasn't had to play on the back-to-back. I'm sorry, did he play last night?
Yes, he did.
Okay, so you've got him playing the back-to-back. Yeah, I think you're right. That's probably what's driving that, but I'll dig in a little bit. It's Wizards or pass for me.
Yeah, and I can't argue with that. You look at this Houston team, right? They had a quick little bump when they made that trade. They've lost five in a row, and most of the games haven't been particularly close. They lost by five to San Antonio, seven to Miami, but the rest of them, I mean, 29 to New Orleans, 25 to Charlotte, and then 22 against the Knicks. So this Houston team has definitely been struggling, and I think the fact that they're bouncing these guys in and out of the lineup is tough. I don't really know what we're getting from Eric Gordon at this point in the season. He's been really tough to cap, and I think this is a Washington team that's starting to play a little better. Kind of finding their role. I think when they originally lost Bryant, it hurt them on the offensive end. But I think Robin Lopez has maybe helped the team because he's at least like an average defender in the middle, right? And they're not just giving up layups left and right. So I think I agree with you there that Washington might be the side here. The only thing that's kept me off so far really is just my worry about the fatigue. And then, I mean, I don't know. I mean, is it a lit down spot after a win over Boston, or do you think they just keep rolling, especially with the emotion with Wall
I don't know
returning?
if a team like Washington necessarily has let down spots. I
Yeah.
mean, you're kind of a tough team. Every night is tough. So maybe the letdown spot would have been the game before playing against the Knicks. Maybe that was more of like a look ahead.
Yeah.
But like you said, as I start to look at the roster and take a step back and, instead of looking at numbers, try to think about what's going to happen from a basketball perspective here, Washington has a much better lineup, right? I mean, they're going to have Westbrook, Beal, Hachimura's okay. They'll put Wagner out there, Lopez, like you said. They bring Bertans off the bench, Evita, versus a Houston team that's just a mess at this point. I mean, they just continue to go down. I mean, I know that John Wall and DeMarcus Cousins was a really fun idea some years ago, but I don't know if it's what I want to wager on in 2021.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. Seems like the whole season's been a letdown for Washington so far. So let's see if they can get back on track. This next game is a game that I went back and forth on. I originally targeted it as a game that I thought I can find an edge, and as I keep looking, I keep trying to find good arguments for both sides, and that is Atlanta traveling up to New York to play the Knicks. Atlanta opened at -1. They've taken a little money. They're now -2. Opened at 216. It's now 218. So there's been a little money to the over here. Of course, New York dealing with the tough loss of Mitchell Robinson. He's so great underneath. He does just as great crashing the boards, getting block shots, and offensive rebounds and putbacks and stuff. But they seem to have been able to handle it well in their first game, which was, let me see, I was on them that night, so I should remember this. It was, oh yeah, the win over Houston. That was an easy cash. They won by 22. Um, you know, so what do you think of this game here? Do you think Trey Young comes back here, or do you think New York can keep it rolling?
I think that if we had a crowd, this would be a great game to use Trey Young for stuff like DFS. He always loves playing here in Madison Square Garden. That is still a thing that drives a lot of good play out of players, especially him. But I am, like you said, worried a little bit about that Mitchell Robinson news. On the other side of the ball, though, there's been articles floating around all day about John Collins and how the Hawks are taking offers for him. So who knows how he's feeling and what kind of his level of motivation is. Kind of a few nagging injuries for the Hawks. It looks like Hunter's out. Looks like Bogdanovich is out. Chris Dunn, even a guy like Rajon Rondo. So the roster starts to get pretty thin. And just the Hawks have been just very mercurial this year. It's hard for me to kind of put my finger on what they're going to do night in, night out. I think that they deserve to be the favorite here. I expect them to win the game, but I don't feel great about that.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it a lot just doing these rundowns and how much the Hawks miss DeAndre Hunter. He was just such a big part of their perimeter defense and just another creator. And boy, I loved Cam Reddish coming out of school, and sometimes I just don't see it. He really he can make a great play on the defensive end, and then sometimes he looks so lazy. It's just really frustrating. And you make a great point about Collins, although I would say that he's been on the trade block the second they didn't offer him the max, right? And he declined that
That's true.
extension. Um, because that's kind of what caused the blow up earlier in this year, because he's trying to get numbers. He wants that max contract, whether it's with Atlanta or most likely another team. And now remember, Atlanta can always match because he will be a restricted free agent. But I don't know if the Collins, trade. I mean, those have been going all season. I think that he's going to be pretty motivated regardless. Now the question is he motivated in a team regard or just trying to get his numbers? But to be fair, this has been by far his best defensive year. he kind of struggled last year. Well, I thought he looked good. You know, the metrics said that he wasn't good. This year, the metrics say he is pretty good. Probably having Clint Capella next to him helps a lot, though, because he's guarding power forwards and not center. I kind of like the Knicks here. I actually like Thibodeau a lot better than Lloyd Pierce. I've kind of been disappointed with what Pierce has been able to do with this collection of talent, and you know, it's just one of those things. I like the Knicks here. Let's see if they can get it done. And we always know that Thibodeau is going to give all our starters lots of minutes. So another guy I might be looking at from a player prop perspective is Julius Randle. I think he's going to get some good matchups here as well. Did you have any other looks on this game, the total, before we move on?
Yeah, the only other thing I was kind of looking at here, I might actually lean over here. With Nerlens Noel coming in to be the starting center, he's a solid player, but he's going to foul out of this game. That's just who he is. He fouls so much. And again, he might not foul out, but you're going to have some serious restrictions at some point on him, I think, during this game. And it's going to be a lot of Taj Gibson covering the basket. You know, they'll probably play Randall at some 5, something like that. So I think that we'll have an opportunity to have some baskets scored here. It's so hard for me to figure out what Atlanta's going to do. So I might look at it over, maybe an Atlanta team total over here, but it's hard for me to get excited about betting the Hawks.
Yeah, I like New York here. I really think the Hawks have struggled since losing Hunter. And, you know, as much as we talked about all their offseason additions, you know, they've barely got any play out of Bogdanovich. Gallinari's still working his way back into the lineup. But he adds another thing that this seems to be the theme of the Hawks is a bunch of players who can score, but then they go ahead and get scored on here. So I think the Knicks are going to give me a much more solid defensive effort. They're at home, and you know, told you before we started, who would have thought we were doing these season previews, right? That at this point in the season, the Knicks would have a better record than the Hawks, but they're
It's
13-15, while Atlanta is 11-15. And let's go to the next game, the game of the night, the game that you are definitely going to be an expert on. That is
absolutely
the 76ers heading to Utah to take on the Red Hot Jazz, 22-5. Best record in the league. You know, we said we didn't know what to make of them before the season, or at least I did. And boy, they've turned out to be great. I've enjoyed backing the Jazz here, and we talked about beforehand. You know, it all comes down to the Embiid news. But why don't you give me your handicap of this game if Embiid plays and if he sits? Because I think it's very different. You know, it's the biggest news of the night in my mind.
Yeah, I like the under kind of regardless of what happens here. I was able to get like a 227, 227 and a half. It looks like it's 225s are popping up. I don't know if I'd play that. So that was kind of my first reaction under here. If Embiid plays, I'm going to grab a Sixers spread, a Sixers money line here. I think this is a great matchup for them. I think that, Utah has been absolutely on fire. They're the best team in the league from a spread perspective, and it's not very close. You know, if I take a look at some of my numbers here, the track things like that, if you just blindly bet Utah, you're up 13 units this year. I mean, that's just staggering. So yeah, I think the market is finally starting to overreact here, and the price has gone a little too far. If Embiid plays, I love the Sixers here. I think this should be a very close game. I would probably have the spread closer to 3 or 4, and I think if Embiid's in, this will be 6. You know, so happy to grab the spread, happy to grab the money line. It's just a great matchup for Philadelphia. Conversely, if Embiid is out, I think Utah is going to win this game pretty comfortably. That said, I don't know if I'd want to lay a big number with Utah. The Sixers have a really great shooting team this year, and when Embiid is out of the game, what you'll see is them just load the floor with shooting, try to keep the pace quick, and towards the end of the game, they're just going to be chucking threes, and you're just not going to feel comfortable with the back door wide open there. So if Embiid's in, I'm all over the Sixers. If Embiid's out, lean Utah to win, maybe a Utah team total over something like that. But I don't know if I'd want to, have the Jazz minus a big number. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm with you on both sides there. I mean, Embiid's so crucial to this. One other thing that was kind of going in my mind, how is Utah going to check Ben Simmons? Who are they going to put on him?
Joe Ingles. I mean, checking Ben Simmons.
Crushed.
Not he won't, because he can guard him in the post. I mean, to guard Ben Simmons is to be able to handle him in the post, to be able to handle him coming at you, and just to pay attention on break. I mean, Ben Simmons scores baskets when he's on break, when he can get around the guy that's in front of him. Ingles is a smart enough guy who's going to be standing far enough away to let him shoot, to not let him get around him. And same thing if Ingles is going to get posted up on him or something like that. I'm not too worried about that. I mean, I guess I know Ingles obviously isn't starting, so maybe it'll be Bogdanovich or somebody like that. I wonder if they maybe even try to put Conley on him or something goofy like that. But Simmons is great in the post. He's good when he's attacking the basket. Obviously it's hard to stop. He's an elite player and he does both of those things at a very, very high level. So, I may be underestimating him a little bit, but I think Utah has some answers to the questions he's going to ask.
Yeah, I think this can be a big night for Simmons. I love the matchup here for him. I think that, we've talked about some of his deficiencies in the half court, but I think he's going to look fantastic tonight. I think both the guys you mentioned will have problems staying in front of him and allow him to create off the dribble. Now, whether it turns into points or assists, I'm not sure about that, because he might just end up drawing the defense and then kicking out. But like you said, that's where those shooters come to play. So, boy, I really hope Embiid plays because I want to take the Philadelphia plus the points in this game. So, and plus, just from a fan perspective, right? Don't we want to see Embiid versus Gobert? I mean, it just sounds fantastic to me.
Yeah, that'll be a ton of fun. So again, the Sixers are always better when Embiid's in. The NBA is more fun when Joel Embiid plays basketball. Let's hope his back's feeling good.
Yeah, so that's what I'm waiting for tonight. And if that's the case, I will be jumping on some Philadelphia plus the points. All right, let's go from a completely awesome game to a completely terrible game. That's Cleveland heading to Golden State. Golden State open -8, now they're -9. Total open at 224, up to 227. Cleveland had a great start. They were surprising us. We were praising them on our podcast. And I think they've gone 2-11 in their last 13 games. So everything is falling apart for Bickerstaff and his young team. So what do you see going on in Cleveland? And would I be crazy if I took the +9 here?
Yeah, Cleveland was the number one seed in the East, I think, after the first or second
Yeah.
week of the season. They were a playoff team, I think, until about 2 weeks ago. But like you said, they've fallen out. It sounds like Andre Drummond is done playing basketball games for the Cleveland Cavaliers. They're just going to kind of hold him out until he gets traded. I grabbed an under here early. The market continues to like Golden State over, so I probably should have waited. I grabbed under 225. It's 227. Still like the under there. If I'm adding to that position, I might go in and grab like a Cleveland team total under or something like that. I think this game lines up. I think that Golden State is slowing down a little bit. Their offensive efficiency is coming down just a touch, and Cleveland continues to struggle to score the basketball. And I think losing Drummond, a lot of people are like, oh, well that's, that should be bad for the defense and good for the offense. But I actually feel the other way around. I think Drummond creates some space rolling to the basket. He's great on the offensive boards. And defensively, I don't think that he is the player that people maybe give him credit for, kind of the guy he once was. So, once Drummond gets out of the way here, you're going to have a lot more Jared Allen, a lot more JaVale McGee, guys that are offensively limited, but defensively not, above average. So I think there's a lot of things driving me towards an under here. As far as the spread goes, though, I don't mind. I guess, how do you see Cleveland covering this? Because I think, Golden State comes out at some point, they will be ahead by double digits. Do you think Cleveland is able to keep this close the whole game? Or are you thinking kind of like backdoor? What does this game look like if Cleveland covers the points to you?
I mean, I hate to say this because every single game is coming down to this, but if Draymond's not playing, their defense takes a huge step down. And I think that guys like, Sexton and Garland can look a lot better, going against a Golden State defense that really, I mean, they need Draymond basically on both ends of the floor, but especially on the defensive end. And I think, it might be a welcome respite for Sexton and Garland to get some easier matchups out there on the wing. Jared Allen with more minutes, I don't think that's a bad thing for Cleveland at all. I think that he can definitely help this team out. So I guess I would just assume that they're keeping it close. Golden State's so streaky. It's almost like as Steph goes, they go. So, they had a big game on Saturday night. Let's see if they can get up for a team that, it was a great rivalry 3 or 4 years ago, but not too many people are circling Cleveland on their schedule now. So I would guess that just, we get a great effort from Cleveland, and Sexton and Garland look good attacking this weak Golden State perimeter defense.
Yeah, it looks like Draymond's probable, so I'm assuming that
Okay,
he's
good.
going to play. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll probably stay off it if he plays, but if he does not play, did you see him go down in the game Saturday night? I was surprised he even came back in. Oh, it looked
No, I
bad.
didn't get a chance to see that. I mean, I assume that obviously, if somebody falls like that and then they come back in, usually it's a good sign that they'll be okay. So I think he will play tonight.
Okay, well, maybe I'll stay off that one then. And the good thing is, since the market likes the over, and I want to join you on the under, I can just go ahead and wait and place that before game time and and get some nice patient line value there.
We love the
Interesting
patient line
game.
value.
Yeah, PLV, my trademark. Open at 5.5, down to LA Clippers -3. It's Miami visiting the Clippers. Opened at 220, bet down to 216. So we know that. What would you say? We know that George is out. We're not sure about Kawhi.
George is out. It looks like Kawhi is questionable. Let me just double check that. Looks like, yeah, Kawhi's questionable with a contusion, a leg contusion.
Yeah, and Miami's played pretty well up until that loss against Utah. That to me, that just shows you how good Utah is. Before that, they beat Houston, they beat the Knicks twice, they beat Washington. So although those aren't like high-profile wins, at least shows them getting on the right track. Clippers are on a 3-game win streak. They beat Minnesota, Chicago, and Cleveland. So neither team's really been playing the cream of the crop here in the NBA. Boy, all these games are so dependent. I told you before we started. This is a tough one to do in the morning time because I guess it's afternoon for you, but morning for me.
Yeah.
With so many uncertainties as far as who we're going to get in the lineup. So, what are your thoughts on this game? And do you think that the move to the under in the steam is the right move?
I think the under is the right move here, given the limits of who's playing. Given that Miami's kind of getting back in form here, Bam's playing better. Jimmy Butler's finally getting some games under his belt here. I think from an injury perspective, I think Kawhi's going to play. This line is telling me he's going to play. Bookmakers are really worried about him being out. That this wouldn't be on the board, or be on the board. Probably Miami minus a handful of points, right? I mean, if Kawhi's out, Miami should be 4-5 point favorite. I mean, maybe that's a little bit of an overreaction, but this line kind of tells me, Kawhi's probably playing, and once he's announced in, we'll probably see this get to like maybe even 4 or 5 again. Lean Miami, honestly. I'm going to wait. Obviously, I think that if Kawhi's in, I'll get a better number. If Kawhi's out, I don't think I'll mind whatever number they end up hanging with Miami here. I think this will be a good kind of get right spotter as they kind of continue to get right, if you will.
Yeah, definitely. And one thing I'll be looking at, if Kawhi's out, I'll probably jump on those lemon pepper Lou props because he went for 30 and 10 in the last game where both the stars were missing. So, it's so funny. They want to move him. I don't know why. I think he's great for the team. I don't see why he's on the trade block and what they're hoping to get. Like they were talking about trying to get Derrick Rose. I'm like, I think Lou Williams does what Derrick Rose does and maybe even a little better. So maybe I like Lou more than everyone else. So if Kawhi sits, I'll be looking for a Lou prop.
I guess my question is, who wants Lou Williams? I mean, who needs an offense-first, defenseless point guard?
Let's see.
Like, who would be excited? Like they were talking about my Sixers trade for Lou Williams. I'm good.
No,
we're good. We're fine.
Sixers. I'm trying to think who's a contender that needs bench scoring. I'll get back to you on that. We'll discuss that on the pod.
All right.
There's a couple teams that I think could use a little scoring punch off the bench. If Golden State were to make a run, I would say Golden State needs them, but we'll see how that goes.
That's it. That's an interesting.
Because they definitely lose so much offense when Curry's on the bench. I mean, they need some guy just to score when he's not in there.
Yeah, that's interesting. I like that. It's a good one, kind of off the top of your head.
The last game of the night will be in my hometown, Brooklyn, heading to play the Kings. The Kings coming off absolute shellacking by the Memphis Grizzlies last night as they really took it to them. What was the final score? I didn't watch. 124-110, but the game wasn't even that close. They've lost 3 in a row. They lost to Philly. They got smoked by Orlando. That was a nice one. I was on Orlando there. I should have taken the money line. I took the points, and then they lost to Memphis. Now they're playing a Brooklyn team who will be without Kevin Durant for the next couple days, which – I mean, they can still score. It just worries me more on the defensive end. They lose so much size there, and I don't trust some of these other guys. I think the Kings are going to have their full lineup. I don't know. I don't know what to make of this Brooklyn team without KD. They seem like they're not that good without him. What do you think? Would you be comfortable laying it here, or do you think this is a time where we should back the Kings?
To me, it's Kings or pass. I think you're right. Durant is the most important player on this Brooklyn team. As someone that has, done my best, tried my best maybe to bet Brooklyn Nets unders. I would definitely not bet it under here. I think there's going to be a ton of points. The line is at 237. I clean my numbers up. I get pretty close to that. I probably lean over. I might actually dip my toe finally into a Nets over here because without Durant, I just. they're missing a big piece on defense. I think your Kings will have a chance to just kind of run wild. De'Aaron Fox should be able to do kind of whatever he wants. And then conversely, I mean, who do you guys have to slow down Kyrie or Harden?
Yeah, Halliburton's okay defensively, but it's almost like when we talked about Patrick Williams earlier. He's still a rookie, and the veterans just eat him alive. Fox has the athletic tools, and he actually gives the effort. I don't. I'm not upset. I just never see him being a premier defender. Buddy Hield's absolutely terrible, and then Harrison Barnes. Well, I think he's a good defender. He's too big, to stop the guards. So I think the Kings are going to have a lot of problems. I was actually looking at a first half over here, just with the idea that it kind of protects me for a blowout or even a 10-point lead where one team's kind of slowing down towards the end of the half. So I was looking at a first half over in
Yeah.
that game. Did not jump on a side. So cool. Well, that was a lot of fun. Before we get out of here, we usually give out one best play of the day. So, what do you think would be your favorite play on this whole card if you wanted to give it out for everybody?
I'll give out two because my best play
All
of the
right.
day is conditional. If Joel Embiid plays, the Sixers plus the points is my best play of the day. Sprinkle the money line there. If he's not playing, really, no matter what's going on there, my next best play would be under in that game. Again, if you could still get under 226, that would be my best play.
All right. I'm going to go with my best play. I'm going to go ahead and take the Knicks. The Hawks have been struggling. I like what the Knicks are doing right now. Even with Mitchell Robinson out, I think they can get it done. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll take the Knicks money line. I don't think it's going to ever land on 1 or 1.5 or whatever the points you give me.
Absolutely.
So,
never take +1 ever. Don't even take +1.5. Just don't.
Yeah. So I'm going to take the Knicks money line. For the Run Pure subscribers, we'll throw these in the Discord. Other than that, everybody else, thank you for joining us. Noobs, thank you for coming on today. This is a lot of fun. We talk a lot, but it's fun to kind of have the roles reversed and let me host. We'll be back with some exciting stuff this week. We're doing a Net Worth pod. We'll probably be joining on the Punt School, the Australian guys team, and many other fun content-related gambling enterprises, I guess we would say. Anyways, guys, thanks. Yeah, go ahead and like and subscribe this video, please, so we can keep them coming. And thank you for joining us. Run Pure.